other night, well, I decided to write this poem. And even though I was hoping for something to come out on a more positive note, sometimes it just doesn't happen like that. And before I knew it, Morse codes and metaphors began to flow about deep secrets that will hold onto your soul and just refuse to let go. And even though I tried to kill my true feelings, they wouldn't lay down and die. They kept coming forth like Lazarus, and they refused to be denied. With hurt so deep, I swear I saw my paper begin to cry. See, I wanted to write about happy feelings like, butterflies and love, but my pen became silent. So instead, I had to settle for pain and pay for enough strength to this poem to write about pain. And as my pen began to ease against my notebook, I felt free. I felt the pulse between my fingers as my words began to breathe, feeling like they were taking on a life of their own, like they could jump right off the paper at me. And I noticed that this feeling soon became addictive, but the details of my life were just a little too descriptive, and I couldn't stop it. It was as if my pen was on autopilot, and it just refused to be rerouted as pain became my muse. And after all, what do I have to lose but maybe a few demons out of my back? Maybe a few knots out of my stomach. In fact, maybe, just maybe, this poem can help me find my way back or help me find my true identity, even though the fear in me has always wondered, what if? The reflection in the mirror walks away because it's just a little too disappointed, but who knows? Maybe that's just what I need is a confrontational episode. Something to help me put my finger on the piece of the puzzle I can never quite hold on to until I use it to hold on to this pen and write. And for every line would be one less tear I would cry, one less breath I would hold inside, one less sleepless night once I got this poem out right. It's like it decided to invade my body like an entity, and the only form of exorcism was to write it out of me. I was possessed by the power of the pen. I was still searching for the strength within, and that's when I finally realized it. I didn't write this poem. This poem wrote me. This poem chose me to be the narrator, the main character, describe unfortunate chain of events, plots with suspense, which would seriously forget about Shakespeare. See, tragedy plus comedy equals me. Motivation mixed with depression equals me. Screaming S on my chest for Superwoman, but really my life is a mess. Confusing my own existence, taking on so many identities and dimensions, metamorphosis just become another hobby. A clinical case study, extreme anxiety diagnosis, but once again, this poem not chosen. It chose me. To stand right here and use my country-style dialect, to recreate past events that only this poem knows the proper etiquette, like how it felt when my father died, or how it felt when that stranger forced himself inside, or how when my unborn child died, it killed me spiritually. Or how to know I could be 1 week away from losing everything, and even though I take the shirt off my back, no one offered me a damn thing. And yes, this poem may seem real personal, but honestly, it repaired me. And not just a bandage either, but it carefully put me back together again. It invaded my sleep and manifested in my subconscious. And once a poem has chosen, you cannot stop it. There is no rest for the weary. You must conceive it like immaculate conception. You must breathe it. You must birth it like your Mother Earth, and it's just a part of the universe. But you know what? Once I got this poem out, it was as if it had given me mouth to mouth for every line I managed to scribble out. And yes, I might have had a little bit to do with it, but my mental capability doesn't even have the capacity to create such a masterpiece of poetry, the true expression of art, and I'm just the brush. It is responsible for every stroke on this beautiful canvas, for every life-changing emotion, for every eyebrow rose, for every nerve ending cut open and exposed. And now I can stand before you and tell you that there were days that I wished to slit my own wrists with razor blades just to use the blood to write with. Because you would never question if my message came from the heart. Because see, this poetry gave insomnia sleep. This poetry gave a tortured soul peace. So I thank God that this poem chose me to take my spiritual connection that was once lost in translation, caught up in the purgatory of poetry, caught up in the raft of this poem. Because we are all the chosen to write to our own salvation.
Wow.